and welcome to Coming Home, Life After Semester at Sea. My name is Dee Colombini. I was one of the ship counselors on Voyage 134. Today I have with me ASL Interpreter Sam Wulz and our special guest, Maddux Eckerling. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. So Max, please introduce yourself and tell us about your role on the ship and what life was like for you at Semester at Sea.
My name is Maddux Eckerling, and I was a student on Voyage 134, and I also was able to co-lead a club called JewCruise and also attend a bunch of other clubs. And so, yeah, I really tried to be as involved as I could on the ship, and had a really amazing time on that voyage, which is why I'm so excited to be talking about it here today.
Sounds great. Really great. I think you were one of the students that were really involved, and you had some other kind of leadership positions. Is that correct?
Not officially. I other than Jew Cruise, I tried to be involved as much as I could and show up to, I was actually able to go to every single Cross Currents seminar that happened, which is the nightly lecture series, which was an incredible learning experience. I started going because the first night was one of my professors, and then I just kept going night after night as the topics were interesting. And eventually, I kind of got into this rhythm of just going every single night and seeing what the lecture was. And even if at first glance the lecture didn't seem interesting to me, I learned something new every single time, and it was a great experience. And I also was able to, talk with different staff members and people on the ship and work helping with different things. I helped with creating the multicultural night, helped with the Olympics and was a judge for some of those events. So I really just tried to be as involved as I could.
Great. Did you have a favorite on the cross currents?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think, hmm, I don't know that I had a favorite. I think every single one brought a really important and new point of view, and I especially really sort of liked the times we were able to talk about and sort of be critical of the own experiences that we were having,
Mm,
and sort of acknowledging the different privileges that we had. I remember there was one cross currents where we were talking about environmentalism and the environmental impacts of the cruising industry. And we were having that conversation while sitting on a cruise ship. And so I think it was really a cool opportunity to be able to be sitting on that cruise ship and not acknowledging the privileges that we had to be there, and also the impact that our participating created, but also being able to understand the different ways that we can improve the environment and we can work as voyagers to kind of reduce our own impacts. And so I think it was a really powerful way to understand, fully the experience that we're having and the overall impact of our participation.
that's great. I mean, it's so immersive, and it's like what a way to be able to understand how something works and actually just like be in the middle of it and experiencing. So, what do you miss most about semester at sea?
Um, I think I really miss just the community that we built. I miss the adventure and the traveling, but also just learning so much and learning about different cultures, learning about different topics. And I think one of the biggest things that I was able to do on Voyage 134 was learn about things that I would have never normally done, whether it was through a field program or a field class or a nightly seminar or a club. I was able to learn about so many different topics that I would have never put myself into those spaces back home. But just because of the way the ship was laid out, I was able to do those things and try out new things. And I think that that was a really special moment. But also, I miss all the people. We had an incredible group of people that were so loving and kind, and it was just an amazing experience. And so I really do think about the people that I met and spent time with pretty much every day. And I try to text a lot of people as much as I can. But there's nothing like being disconnected from the world with a group of people, and the bonds that are created are really quite spectacular.
It sounds like you had a great time meeting new people. It also sounds like the opportunity to be able to experience so many different things in such a short period of time, such a unique period of time, um, things you might not have ordinarily done, and being able to learn about them on the ship, go in port and see things in port. Is super unique to be able to
Yeah.
have all this at one place, all at the same time.
Yeah, it was definitely a life-changing experience for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of people feel that way. Um, so what was one of your favorite memories in port?
Um, so I think one of my favorite memories in port was Morocco. Our first stop in Portugal, I actually spent a lot of the time, I was part of the Soliya Dialogue Facilitation Training, and so I spent a lot of my time in Portugal doing that program. And so for me, Morocco really kind of felt like my first port because it was the first time that I actually spent the entire time in country and exploring the country, not just, sitting in a conference room. And so I had an incredible time. Actually, one of my good friends happened to be traveling in that area, not through SAS, but on her own. And so when we found out that we were both going to be in Morocco at the same time, she was like, I'm hopping on a train and we're gonna come see you. And I was like, awesome, cool. So we ended up going and exploring a little bit together, which was just like so fun and random. But then I ended up going on a field program to the Sahara Desert, and those connections that I made in that program, which to me was like the first real, time to meet people and experience a country, those relationships were the relationships that became the strongest throughout the rest of the voyage. And those, some of them I even had a close relationship with and then didn't reconnect till like Mauritius. And then we reconnected and we are like, oh my gosh, remember Morocco? And then, became really close again. And so I think that experience of just really jumping in, and meeting those people that I could then create relationships with the rest of the voyage was really cool.
Morocco was an intense trip to the desert.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It was also for me, it was my first time in Africa. And then when we got to Vietnam, it was my first time in Asia. And so to me, being the first time in these different places, I had only ever been to North America and to Europe before. And so it was a huge experience for me to be able to travel to these other places that I never would have had the opportunity to travel to. And so it was just so cool to get to see these different cultures and different experiences that I otherwise don't think I would have ever had.
Yeah. Or a true gift in some
Yes.
ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to just jump back and ask you a little bit about the training that you did in Portugal. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, um, towards just before the voyage had started, I got an email saying that there's this new dialogue facilitation program that they're piloting. And so I applied for it. And it took place during our time in Portugal. And so it was a group of students, lifelong learners, and faculty. And we spent the time with staff members from the organization Soliya, and we worked on skills around dialogue facilitation, which is really about how you can bring people together of different backgrounds, cultures, and beliefs, and bring them together and really have an impactful conversation about what are your values, why are you believing the way that you believe, and how can we maybe find some common ground among us and bring people together. And so it was a really cool experience to first have that training, because that's work that I have been doing in the past and want to continue doing in the future. But also, it was really cool on the ship because we were then able to host a few different dialogues on the ship about different things. And so we were able to really bring the ship community together to have some tough conversations about different politics that were happening, different cultural experiences we were having in the countries. And so overall, it was a really cool experience.
Yeah, that sounds fascinating in terms of having a training about bringing people together in conversation in an environment of on the ship with people from all over the world while you're going all over the world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just that's great. And the importance of connecting. which is I'm kind of hearing as a theme. It's like you connected with people and you kept them as friends. You met folks in Morocco and then reunited with them in Mauritius, and it just strengthened in the voyage. So other folks have talked about that too in some of these interviews about the importance of just connecting with the other voyagers is one of the most meaningful parts of
Yeah,
their
and that
experience. Yeah.
yeah, and that human connection I think is so possible because we are, put on this it's small. The ship is relatively small, right? And there's a lot of us, but we don't have good internet. We don't have social media. Even if you got a good internet package, you still don't have social media. And so because we're kind of all just here, the world's over there, we're all here. You can't go anywhere, right? You're in the 9 stories of ship. And so you are able to just create these incredible connections that really can last from when you wake up to when you go to bed, day after day after day. And so you create these incredible bonds, plus all of the bonds of the crazy things that happen in country, whether it's some really cool cultural experience you had or whatever might have happened in country, you're creating bonds over that and then fostering it even more over your tight-knit community on the ship. And so I think it's just one of the coolest social experiences of, or social experiments of creating connection between people. It's really cool.
So you kind of referenced crazy things that happen in country. Do you have one you could share?
Yeah, so I was with a group of people, and we were in South Africa, and we ended up going on a hike, and the trail signs were not quite accurate to
Mm.
where we wanted to go. And so we ended up getting a little lost, and we ended up getting back fine and safe, and it was all good. But there was definitely different panic levels in the group, and so it was a crazy experience because we kind of felt like we were getting lost in the mountains in South Africa. But it was overall really fun, and the group that we were with was, I mean, it was a great group of people to get lost in the mountains with. So it was really fun, but it was definitely like one of those moments where you go, okay, hmm, this is interesting. What do we do now? But we made it back safe and sound, and all is good.
Great, great. Yeah. Leave it to a stressful situation like that to really get to know somebody and see see who they are.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you're all tested and you all came out fine,
Yeah.
friends. Okay, so coming back, how's coming back been for you? What have been some of your main struggles?
Yeah. I think the connection has been a really big one for me. I so I lived on campus, then I lived on campus on the ship, right? And then now I'm living off campus, about a
Mm.
20-minute walk from school. And I'm living with me and my roommate, who's housemate, roommate, and it's just the two of us. And so because I'm now 15, 20, 30 minutes away from the rest of my friends and from school, there is a lot of disconnect, right? And so I think for me coming back, I've really had to go from this situation of like no alone time, you're always spending time with people and always get making these connections to I now have to really work and try to create connections and relationships with people because they are, 30 minutes away. And so I have to put more energy and planning into having interaction with people. And so I think that was a big learning curve, trying to figure out how do I create these situations where I can be with people and how do I go about planning a hangout with someone who's on the other side of town,
Mm.
where it normally was you go to the dining hall and all your friends are there, so you just sit down and hang out with them. So I think that was one of the biggest things coming back. But also, and we talked about it a little bit on the ship, but there is such a different pace to life, um, at least where I am versus on the ship. Things are always happening. We're always going 100 miles an hour. Things are always changing, and there's always a new opportunity. Whereas here, we really have a routine, and every week it's kind of the same thing over and over, and it's very routine and regimented. And so I think I kind of missed that chaos of life on the ship that really just sort of kept me going. Whereas I feel like I've sort of found this pattern now, which is really good. It's, the structure is good, but I do kind of miss the chaos of the ship.
It sounds like you've had kind of a really big step down from being around a lot of people, a lot of activity, the true excitement of interacting with folks just outside your door, or even, the lectures and hearing new information, being in country, seeing new sights and sounds and people. It's pretty exciting stuff.
It really is, yeah.
Yeah, and then to come home and like you said, the pace is different. You're in a routine. Um, Maybe a little more isolated in some ways because you're not in the environment where you've been around a big community and now you're not. So that does sound like quite an adjustment.
Yeah, and I also think it's, I mean, on the ship, literally every weekish, you're in a new country and you spend, a few days in that country and you're in a new country and a new one. Whereas here, I haven't really gotten to travel that much. I've gone home a few times, I've gone and seen my grandparents a few times, but I haven't really done much travel, or at least much that I'd like to. I was able to take a few trips, but that constant traveling was really exciting to me, and I want to bring that back into my life. And so I've been constantly looking for new opportunities and new ways that I can travel and see new places, or even places I've been to before, but just continuing that travel and that movement so that I'm don't feel so stuck in one place. Whereas on the ship, I was able to always be in these different places. So I've been trying to bring that into my life as well.
Yeah. It sounds like you've really identified that as an important value for you and one
Yeah.
that you try to bring back into your life and be able to do more travel and the importance of that. Do you have any suggestions or resources, advice that you might give others for adjusting back?
Yeah, I think definitely staying connected has been really important. I am volunteering with Semester at Sea as both a diversity peer mentor and a global ambassador. And so I've been able to really still be connected with the SAS community. I meet with SAS staff. I am able to talk to prospective students, and I think that's been a really cool opportunity to both stay connected, but also continue to reminisce in my time and think about incredible opportunities that I had, but also think about things that I hadn't necessarily thought about in journals and reflections, where a prospective student will ask me a question and I'm like, that's really interesting. I didn't really have that, insight from my time abroad. And that's like bringing some of their questions back into my own reflection has been really cool to continue exploring my time with SAS, because I think, and we spoke about this on the ship, SAS, the journey itself, the physical time ended when we disembarked, but the journey itself is still with us and it's still coming. And so I think allowing the experiences of SAS, the people of SAS, and all of the things related to SAS to continue into our lives is really important in keeping the good juju, if you will, of the SAS vibes and keeping all of that with you so that you feel connected to that community, even though, you know, the closest person from semester at sea that from my voyage is 2 hours away,
Mm.
still being able to stay connected and find communities. And even I recently was able to travel to DC for a conference, and so I reached out to some people that I had become close with on the ship, and I ended up going out to lunch and dinner with a few people. And it was a really cool experience because we are now a few months after, and we'd all kind of gotten back into our lives. And so we were just sort of catching up as friends, and it was a really cool experience.
That's amazing. And I love the way you describe this. And it seems to me in some ways that the voyage was just planting the seed.
Yeah.
You're continuing to grow, learn about your experiences, stay connected, make more of it, nourish the connections that you have. That's really that's just exciting. It's exciting to hear.
Yeah, and I think it's important, and I'm really excited to continue to grow and continue to have these seeds be planted. And I've been looking at ways that I can go back, and I'm actually now starting to conduct some interviews with different organizations that I had met during SAS, for professional reasons. And so
Mm.
I've really been enjoying reaching back out to some people from SAS to be like, hey, do you remember that contact from that organization that we talked about in South Africa? And then, now talking with the person that we met down there, and it's been a really cool experience to continue to bring back those people as well, not just actually the Sassers, but the different people from countries we met, and continuing to also bring them into my life.
Wow. It's just really opened the door to the world for you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really great. So any other things you'd like to add before we part today? Deeper.
Um, I think one thing that was really an interesting experience that I had, actually in Vietnam, I turned 20, and so I had my birthday on the rivers throughout Vietnam and Cambodia. And I think that was a really cool experience. One, because my brother, my twin brother, who's older than me, technically turned 20 after me. So I was able to be the older one for a second there, which was a funny experience. But it was also, I think, a really cool experience because it was the first time that I had had a birthday away from my family. And to have such a cool group of people that would come together and be your family for that time and that celebration, I think it was a really cool. And I have a video of everyone singing happy birthday that I keep rewatching because it's just one of those times that brings you so much joy. And I think being able to like take those joyous times and continue to treasure them is a really cool thing that we have from SAS and having all of our videos and everything. And so I think another, I guess, resource is to go back and look at your through your camera roll and also look through the SAS Instagram and the SAS YouTube, because they posted a lot of content, and I like was looking through videos and I kept seeing different people and I was like, oh, look at that person over there and look at that cameo over here, and oh wait, I'm over in the back of that corner. And so it's been really cool to watch through all of these different videos and really experience SAS through different people's lenses, through their blogs and their vlogs, and really see how we all had a similar journey, but we all had so many different views that we and lenses that we had that journey through. It was a really cool experience.
That is so much fun.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for
of
talking with me.
course.
It's been super, super fun. Um, I wish you many wonderful journeys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to continuing this journey of, enjoying SAS and also watching everyone else's videos. So, yeah.
Sounds great. Take care.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.